Hey guys, tonight we slip into the bustling streets of Edo-period Japan, where you're a low-ranking enforcer tasked with upholding strange punishments for thieves in a city alive with markets and whispers. Picture yourself on a tatami mat, the air thick with the scent of rice and wood smoke, the hum of Edo's morning stirring outside your tenement's thin walls. You're the one who ties ropes, marks arms, and parades offenders through jeering crowds, all to keep the city's order. Honestly, you probably wouldn't survive a day in your own straw sandals, dodging magistrates' glares and thieves' pleas. But we'll try, right? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'd love to know where you're drifting off tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stir gently on a tatami mat, its woven straw rustling softly beneath you, the texture firm but slightly worn, pressing through the thin cotton of your sleeping kimono. The air in the crowded tenement is warm, heavy with the scent of rice simmering in a nearby pot, and the faint, earthy tang of wood smoke from the communal hearth. Your eyes adjust to the dimness, catching slivers of dawn creeping through the shoji screens, their paper panels glowing faintly, casting soft shadows on the wooden walls, their grain polished by years of hands brushing past. The room is small, barely wide enough for 3 mats shared with other low-ranking enforcers. Guards, scribes, men like you who keep Edo's laws in check. You're a doshin, a minor official in the city's sprawling justice system, tasked with enforcing punishments for crimes like theft. Your days filled with ropes brands and the weight of the magistrate's orders. You sit up, your breath catching in the cool morning air, a faint mist that fades as you rub your eyes. The kimono clings to your shoulders, its blue cotton faded and slightly damp from the night's humidity, a reminder of Edo's closeness to the Sumida River. You stretch your arms, feeling the stiffness from yesterday's work, tying a thief's hands, marching them through crowded streets, standing under the magistrate's sharp gaze. The Edo period is strict, its laws a web of rules to keep the city's chaos in line, and theft, even a stolen rice ball, can earn a thief a tattooed arm or a public shaming. You chuckle to yourself, imagining explaining this to a modern security guard. No handcuffs, just rope and a crowd. Good luck selling that on a resume. Your first task is to prepare for the day, to shake off the sleep and ready yourself for Edo's demands. You reach for a small clay bowl beside your mat, its surface smooth but chipped, filled with water from the communal well you fetched last night. You splash some on your face, the cold biting your skin, waking you like a nudge from the kami. The water smells faintly of earth, a trace of the river's silt, and you wipe it away with the back of your hand, feeling the calluses from gripping bamboo rods and inked brushes. You're young, maybe 22, but the city's work has toughened you, your hands more suited to enforcing laws than crafting poetry. You catch yourself wondering if the magistrates in their fine robes and shaded offices ever wake this early. Probably not, they're too busy dreaming of their next verdict. The tatami mat crinkles as you shift its straw, poking through the kimono, a small irritation you've learned to ignore. The tenement is waking the other enforcers, stirring their mats, rustling as they rise, one muttering about a sore back from yesterday's patrol. You hear the faint clatter of a wooden bucket outside a neighbor fetching water and the soft hum of Edo's streets vendors calling cartwheels creaking the city's pulse, starting anew. You kneel pulling a pair of straw sandals from under the mat, their woven soles worn but sturdy essential for navigating Edo's dusty alleys. They're simple, a far cry from the silk slippers of samurai, but they'll carry you through another day of enforcing the city's strange justice. You stand brushing straw from your kimono and move toward a small wooden box in the corner, its lid scratched from years of use. Inside are your tools, a coil of hemp rope for binding thieves, a bamboo rod for minor punishments, a folded cotton cloth for cleaning ink from your hands after marking a convict. You tuck them into your kimono's wide sleeve, their weight familiar, like the water skin you carried in the Sahara's dunes, a world away but somehow kin in its labor. The Edo system is precise its punishments for theft, ranging from tattoos to exile, each one a lesson, to deter others in a city teeming with merchants and mischief. You wonder not for the first time why anyone would risk stealing a coin when the consequences are so public, so permanent. You smirk, picturing a modern shoplifter facing a tattooed arm. Busted, branded for life, you'd say amused by their fleeting court dates. The dawn light grows stronger, spilling through the shoji screens, painting the walls in warmer hues, and you hear the city waking fishmongers shouting a temple bell, ringing the low murmur of the market nearby. You pause at the sliding door, taking a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of rice and the faint sweet tang of plum blossoms from a neighbor's yard. You're ready, or as ready as you'll ever be, to step into Edo's bustling streets. The magistrates will expect reports, the thieves will face their punishments, and the day will test you in ways you can't predict. You think of the modern world with its security cameras and fines. Would they trade their tech for this, a tatami mat, a hemp rope, and a city where one stolen apple could mark you forever? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista facing a jeering crowd, their coffee order useless in Edo's alleys. You take your first step outside, the air cool against your face. It's time to begin your day. You step back from the sliding door of the tenement, the cool morning air of Edo lingering on your face, carrying the faint scent of plum blossoms and rice steaming from a neighbor's hearth. The tatami mat inside still rustles in your mind, its woven straw a memory against your skin. But now your faded blue kimono shifts with each step, its cotton slightly damp from the night's humidity. Your straw sandals tucked by the door wait to be slipped on, but first you must dress properly for the day's patrol. As a doshin, a low-ranking enforcer of Edo's strict laws, your appearance must be neat, unassuming, a quiet servant of the magistrate's justice, ready to bind thieves or march them through jeering crowds. You move back inside the cramped room, reaching for a cotton obi sash folded beside your mat. Its indigo weave a simple badge of your role, and begin to tie it, readying yourself for the bustling streets beyond. The obi is long, its cotton coarse but tightly woven, dyed a deep indigo that's faded to a soft blue from years of use, smelling faintly of sweat and the cedar chest where it's stored. You hold one end against your waist, feeling the fabric's texture against your kimono, and start to wrap it. your fingers moving slowly, deliberately, as if tracing a ritual as old as Edo's alleys. The sash is wide, meant to hold your kimono's folds in place and secure the tool's rope bamboo rod cloth tucked into your sleeve, a necessity for a day spent enforcing punishments for theft. You wind it around your waist, the cotton pulling snug its weight, a quiet reminder of the city's expectations. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern security guard. No belt, just a fancy knot. They'd probably stick to their uniforms and badges. You adjust the obi, pulling it tighter, the fabric pressing against your stomach, and fold it carefully, layering the cotton to form a neat band that sits just above your hips. The morning light filters through the shoji screens, casting a soft glow on the tatami. Their straw gleaming faintly, and you feel a faint breeze from the open door carrying the scent of charcoal and fish grilling in the tenement's courtyard. Your hands work with practiced ease, though you've fumbled this before early in your days as a doshin, when the obi slipped loose mid-patrol, earning a sharp glance from a senior guard. The Edo system demands precision even in dress, and a slovenly sash could mark you as careless, unfit for the magistrate's trust. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern office worker tying a tie. Not too loose, try a city watching you think, amused by their boardroom fuss. You tie the final knot, a simple square that sits at your back, and tug it to ensure it holds the cotton firm, but flexible, ready to endure a day of walking, bending, and binding thieves. The kimono settles around you, its blue folds smooth, and you smooth a crease, noticing a faint ink stain on the sleeve, likely from a report you wrote last week. You'll wash it later, your hands are better suited to ropes than laundry. The tenement is quieter now, the other enforcers already gone, their mats empty, and you hear the distant clatter of a vendor's cart, the city waking with a hum of voices and footsteps. The obi's weight feels right, a balance to the tools in your sleeve, and you think of the punishments you'll enforce today. Tattoos, cages, shame, parades, all part of Edo's strange justice for thieves. You slip on your sandals, their straw soles creaking faintly, and lace them around your ankles, the cords biting into your skin where they've worn thin. They're simple, a far cry from the polished geta of merchants, but they'll carry you through Edo's dusty alleys where thieves lurk in market crowds or temple shadows. You adjust the obi again, ensuring it won't slip, and feel a small pebble caught in the sandal's weave, likely from yesterday's patrol. You flick it away, the straw rough under your fingers, and stand testing the sash's fit. It's cotton, holding your kimono's folds like a quiet promise. You've heard samurai tie their obi with ceremony, their katana tucked into the sash. But for you, it's just a tool, like the rope you'll use to bind a thief's wrists. You think of the traders in Gao, their salt slabs a world away, yet their labor feels kin to yours, both bound by the day's demands. The air grows warmer, the dawn light spilling through the door, painting the tenement's walls in soft golds, and you catch a whiff of soy sauce from a neighbor's breakfast. A sharp note in the morning's calm. You notice a small moth fluttering near the shoji screen, its wings a pale blur, a fleeting visitor in the room's stillness. You've heard old women in Edo talk of moths as spirits, their flight a sign of restless ancestors, but you're not one for omens, just a dosh in your mind on the streets. You think of the modern world, with its pressed uniforms and name tags. Would they trade their ease for this tying a sash in a cramped room, a city's justice on your shoulders? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista fumbling an obi knot, their coffee order useless in Edo's dawn. You remember the clay bowl of water you splashed on your face, its cold bite a faint echo in your skin, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you toward the alleys. Historians still debate whether Edo's doshin dressed for status or function, but you don't care much for the debate. The obi is tied, and that's enough to keep you moving. You take a final glance at the tenement, the tatami mat still and quiet, and step toward the door, ready to patrol Edo's bustling streets, waiting beyond the threshold. You step out of the tenement, the cotton obi sash snug around your waist, its indigo weave holding your blue kimono's folds in place, the morning air of Edo cool against your face, carrying the scent of soy sauce and charcoal from the waking city. Your straw sandals crunch softly on the dirt path, their woven soles gripping the ground, and the tools in your sleeve, rope, bamboo rod, cloth, shift faintly, a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing the city's strict laws against theft. The shoji screen's soft glow fades behind you, the tatamis rustle a memory as you move through the narrow alley, the hum of vendors and cartwheels growing louder in the distance. Your next task awaits at a small guard post near the market, where a bamboo cage used to display convicted thieves must be inspected for security before the day's punishments begin. You walk toward the post, ready to check the cage, ensuring it's sturdy for the public's gaze under Edo's bustling streets. The guard post is a modest wooden structure, its roof tiled with grey clay, tucked between a fishmonger's stall and a sake shop, the air thick with the mingled scents of grilled eel and rice wine. The bamboo cage sits outside a squat box-like frame, barely tall enough for a man to crouch, its bars lashed with hemp rope, their surface smooth but weathered from years of use. You approach it, your sandals scuffing the packed earth, and kneel, the kimono's hem brushing the ground, its cotton catching faintly on a stray pebble. You run your fingers along a bamboo bar, feeling its cool, polished texture, checking for cracks or loose knots that could let a thief slip free. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern prison guard. No bars, just bamboo and rope. They'd probably call for steel and a locksmith. You tug at the ropes, their fibers rough under your calloused palms, and test their tension, the knots tight, but slightly frayed from the sun's heat and the city's damp air. The cage is a common punishment in Edo, a public shaming for petty thieves, those caught stealing rice coins or cloth, forced to crouch inside for hours, jeered by passers-by in the market square. You've seen men in these cages, their faces flushed with shame, their hands gripping the bars as children toss pebbles or merchants shout insults. It's a strange justice meant to deter others in a city where theft is as common as the morning fog. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern shoplifter in this cage. Public shaming. They'd post it online, you think, amused by their social media meltdowns. You move to the cage's door, a hinged panel of bamboo secured with a wooden pin, its surface carved with a simple spiral, a mark of the carpenter's craft. You pull the pin, feeling it slide smoothly, and open the door, checking the hinges for wear, the bamboo creaking faintly as it swings. The cage smells of dust and faint sweat, a trace of its last occupant, a thief who stole a bolt of silk and crouched here 2 days ago, his muttered apologies drowned by the crowd's taunts. You've inspected cages before a routine task to ensure no thief escapes, no rope snaps under the magistrate's watch. The Edo system is meticulous. Its punishments, cages, tattoos, exile, designed to mark the guilty and warn the city a balance of shame and order in a world of bustling markets and hidden alleys. You close the door, sliding the pin back, and tap it gently to ensure it holds the wood firm against your fingers. The air grows warmer, the sun climbing higher, its light spilling over the guard post's tiled roof, casting shadows across the cage's bars. You hear the fishmonger's shout, his voice sharp as he hawks his wares, and the soft clink of coins from the sake shop, a reminder of Edo's pulse alive with trade and temptation. Your kimono shifts its cotton, catching on the obi, and you notice a small ink smudge on your sleeve, likely from a report you wrote yesterday. You rub it with your thumb, the fabric rough, and make a mental note to wash it. Later, your hands are for justice, not laundry. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their tunics stained with dust, a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight. You stand brushing dirt from your kimono and check the cage one last time, running your hand along the top, feeling for splinters or weak spots, the bamboo solid under your touch. A small bird, a sparrow, flits past, landing on the cage's roof, its chirp a bright note in the market's hum. You've heard Edo's elders talk of sparrows as messengers, their flight's a sign of small luck, but you're not one for omens, just a dosh in your mind on the cage and the thieves it'll hold. You think of the modern world with its jails and cameras. Would they trade their cells for this checking bamboo cages, crowds waiting to jeer? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista guarding a cage, their coffee order useless in Edo's streets. You remember the obi's knot, its cotton snug around your waist, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you toward the next task. Historians still debate whether Edo's cages were more about punishment or public deterrence. But you don't care much for the debate. The cage is secure, and that's enough to keep you moving. You step away from the post, the market's noise growing louder, ready to patrol the alleys. Edo's justice, waiting in the dust and clamor. You step away from the guard post, the bamboo cage's bars now checked, and secure its hemp ropes tight, ready to hold the next thief under Edo's watchful crowds. Your coarse blue kimono shifts with each step, its cotton folds held by the indigo obi sash, the fabric snug against your waist, and your straw sandals crunch softly on the packed earth, their woven soles catching faint dust from the market square. The tools in your sleeve, rope, bamboo, rod, cloth, tap gently, a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The morning sun spills over the tiled roofs, warming the air with the scent of grilled fish and charcoal, the fishmonger's shouts blending with the clink of coins from the sake shop nearby. Your next task is to patrol the narrow alleys branching off the market, watching for thieves who slip through Edo's bustling streets. You walk toward the alleys, your sandals' steady eyes scanning the morning haze for signs of trouble. The alleys are a maze of packed dirt and wooden walls, their paths barely wide enough for two to pass, the air thick with the mingled scents of soy sauce, wood smoke, and the faint dampness of the Sumida River nearby. You move slowly, your sandals scuffing the earth, kicking up small clouds of dust that cling to your kimono's hem. It's blue cotton, catching the light in soft folds. The alleys are alive, though quieter than the market women, carrying wicker baskets of radishes, children darting with wooden tops, a vendor pushing a cart of tofu, its wheels creaking like a temple bell. You keep your eyes sharp, watching for quick hands or nervous glances, the signs of a thief eyeing a merchant's coin pouch or a stall's cloth. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern cop. No radio, just dust and gut instinct. They'd probably stick to their patrol cars and coffee runs. You turn a corner, the alley narrowing its walls, leaning slightly their wood, weathered by Edo's rains and sun. A stray cat, grey and sleek, slinks past its tail, brushing a wall, and you step around a small puddle, its surface reflecting the sky's pale blue, a remnant of last night's drizzle. The Edo period is strict, its laws against theft, enforced with tattoos, cages, or worse, and as a Doshin, you're the city's eyes patrolling to catch those who'd risk it all for a stolen rice ball or a bolt of silk. You've caught thieves before pickpockets in the market, a boy who swiped a sandal from a temple, and each one faced the magistrate's justice, their fates a warning to others. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern pickpocket in these alleys. Caught, try a tattooed arm. You think amused by their quick fines and court dates. You pause by a stall selling bamboo skewers, the vendor's hands deftly threading fish, the grill's smoke curling upward, sharp and savory. You nod to him, your kimono's sleeve brushing the stall's edge, and he returns the gesture, his eyes wary but respectful, knowing your role. The alleys are a web of trust and suspicion, where merchants watch their wares and neighbors whisper of thefts, a stolen coin here, a missing cloth there. You keep moving your sandals steady, the obi's knot firm against your waist, and feel a faint breeze carrying the scent of cherry blossoms from a nearby garden. A sweet note in the dust. Your tools tap in your sleeve, ready for a thief's wrists or a magistrate's order, and you scan the crowd, a mix of farmers, artisans, and children. Their voices a soft hum in the morning haze. The sun climbs higher, its heat warming the alleys, the dust rising under your sandals, and you notice a small ink smudge on your kimono, likely from a report you wrote yesterday, a faint mark of your work. You rub it with your thumb, the cotton rough, and make a mental note to wash it. Later, your hands are for patrolling, not scrubbing. You pass a small shrine, its red torii gate barely taller than you, a stone fox guarding its steps, and you bow slightly, a habit from childhood. Though you're not one for prayers, just a doshin your mind on the streets. You've heard Edo's priests talk of foxes as tricksters, their cunning a match for thieves. But you focus on the alleys where real thieves hide in plain sight. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their dunes a world away, yet their vigilance feels kin to yours, both watching for trouble in their endless tasks. You turn another corner, the alley opening to a wider street where a crowd gathers around a noodle vendor, the steam from his pot clouding the air, its savory scent mingling with the dust. You keep your pace slow, your eyes moving over faces, merchants counting coins, a woman adjusting her obi, a boy eyeing a sweet stall a bit too long. The city is alive, its pulse a mix of trade and temptation, and you're here to keep it in check. Your patrol's a thread in Edo's justice, strange as it is with its cages and brands. You think of the modern world with its surveillance and alarms. Would they trade their tech for this walking dusty alleys, watching for quick hands? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista patrolling these streets, their coffee order useless in Edo's haze. You remember the bamboo cage, its bars secure, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you deeper into its alleys. Historians still debate whether Edo's patrols were meant to prevent crime or display authority. But you don't care much for the debate. The alleys are yours, and that's enough to keep you walking. You adjust your obi the cotton snug and continue your patrol, the market's clamour growing louder, ready for whatever the streets bring next. You step away from the dusty alleys, the hum of Edo's market fading behind you. The vendors' steam and the crowd's chatter giving way to the quieter rhythm of a narrow street leading to the magistrate's office. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held by the indigo obi sash. The fabric snug against your waist and your straw sandals scuff the packed earth, their woven soles catching faint grit from the morning's patrol. The tools in your sleeve rope bamboo rodcloth. Tap gently a reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The air is warm, carrying the scent of charcoal and grilled skewers, with a faint tang of river water from the nearby Sumida. Your patrol has ended, but a new task awaits a thief caught stealing a merchant's coin pouch must be marked with ink on his arm, a permanent brand ordered by the magistrate. You enter the office's courtyard, ready to ink the thief's arm, your hands steady under the weight of Edo's justice. The courtyard is small, its packed dirt surrounded by wooden walls, a single cherry tree in the corner, dropping pale petals that scatter like snow. A low wooden bench sits in the center where the thief, a thin man with a nervous gaze, kneels, his wrists loosely bound with hemp rope, his kimono sleeve rolled to expose his forearm. You approach your sandals silent on the dirt and set a small bamboo tray beside him, its surface holding an inkstone, a brush, and a clay bowl of black ink, its sharp, acrid scent rising in the warm air. You kneel the kimono's hem, brushing the ground, and dip the brush into the ink, its bristles soft but firm, ready to mark the thief's arm, with a simple circle, a sign of his crime for all Edo to see. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern parole officer. No ankle monitor, just a permanent tattoo. They'd probably grab a scanner and call it a day. You hold the thief's arm, his skin cool and slightly damp, his muscles tense under your grip, and begin to trace the circle, the brush gliding slowly, the ink seeping into his flesh dark and unyielding. His breath catches a faint hitch, but he stays still, his eyes fixed on the ground, knowing resistance could mean a harsher fate, exile, or worse. The Edo period is unforgiving, its punishments for theft, designed to shame and deter, and this tattoo, a mark of dishonor, will follow him through markets and alleys, a warning to others. You've inked arms before a routine task for a doshin, though each mark feels heavy, a permanent line drawn in a man's life. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern graffiti artist trying this. Street art, try branding a thief you think amused by their spray cans and fleeting tags. You work carefully, the brush moving in steady strokes, the ink's wet sheen catching the sunlight, filtering through the cherry tree's branches. The circle is simple, no larger than a coin, but precise, its edges clean as the magistrate expects. The courtyard is quiet, save for the soft scratch of the brush and the distant hum of Edo's streets, vendors calling, a temple bell ringing the city's pulse, a faint backdrop. You feel a bead of sweat on your brow, caught by the turban-like fold of your headscarf, and pause to wipe your hand on the cloth in your sleeve, its cotton soft but stained from past inkings. The thief's arm trembles slightly, and you steady it, your touch firm, but not harsh a balance. You've learned to keep thieves calm and the magistrate satisfied. You finish the circle, its black line stark against the thief's pale skin, and set the brush back on the tray, its bristles glistening with leftover ink. You rinse your fingers in a small bowl of water, its surface rippling the liquid cool, but tinged with faint ink, swirls a trace of your work. The thief exhales, his shoulders slumping, and you untie his wrists, the hemp rope falling to the dirt, its fibers frayed but strong. He'll be released soon, free to walk Edo's streets, but the mark will stay a reminder of his crime, a barrier to honest work or trust. The Edo system is strange, its punishments blending shame and permanence, and you've seen marked men turn to begging their tattoos, a sentence longer than any cage. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world away, yet kin in their labor's weight, both marked by their tasks. You stand brushing dirt from your kimono and notice a small cherry petal caught in the obi's fold, its pink a fleeting contrast to the indigo. You flick it away, the cotton rough under your fingers, and check your sandals, ensuring no ink has splashed their straw. The courtyard's air is warm, the scent of charcoal, now mixed with a faint floral note from the tree, and you hear a sparrow chirp, its call a bright spark in the quiet. You've heard Edo's merchants talk of cherry blossoms as fleeting beauty, their fall a symbol of life's brevity. But you're not one for poetry, just a dosh in your mind on the thief and the next task. You think of the modern world with its fines and probation. Would they trade their laws for this inking arms in a dusty courtyard, a city watching? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista wielding an ink brush, their coffee order useless in Edo's haze. The thief rises, his marked arm hidden under his sleeve, and you nod to a senior guard by the gate, signaling the task is done. The courtyard feels still, the cherry tree's petals drifting, and you gather the tray ready to return it to the office. The magistrate's next orders, waiting in Edo's endless rhythm. You step away from the magistrate's courtyard. The bamboo tray of inking tools return to the office. The thief's freshly marked arm, now hidden beneath his sleeve. His nervous gaze a fading memory as you leave the cherry tree's scattered petals behind. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, and your straw sandals scuff the packed earth, their woven soles gritty from Edo's dusty paths. The tools in your sleeve rope, bamboo rod cloth tap. Gently a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The midday air is warm, carrying the scent of grilled fish and soy sauce from a nearby stall, the hum of the market's vendors blending with the distant chime of a temple bell. Your next task awaits at the guard post near the square. Another thief caught pilfering a merchant's rice must be bound for a public shaming march through Edo's streets. You walk toward the post, pulling the hemp rope from your sleeve, ready to tie the thief's wrists under the city's watchful eyes. The guard post is a familiar sight, its wooden walls weathered, tucked between the fishmonger's stall and the sake shop. The air thick with the mingled scents of eel and rice wine. The thief, a young man with a patchy beard and a tattered kimono, sits on a low bench, his head bowed, flanked by two senior guards whose stern faces soften as you approach. You kneel beside him, the kimono's hem brushing the dirt, and uncoil the hemp rope, its fibers rough and slightly damp from the morning's humidity, smelling faintly of straw and earth. You take his wrists, their skin cool and calloused, and begin to wrap the rope, your fingers moving slowly, deliberately, forming a simple but secure knot to hold him through the march. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern police officer. No cuffs, just rope and a crowd. They'd probably reach for zip ties and a squad car. You pull the rope snug, the knot firm, but not cruel, ensuring it won't slip, yet won't cut into his skin, a balance you've learned from countless bindings. The thief's hands tremble slightly, his breath shallow, and you keep your touch steady, your presence calm, knowing fear can make a man bolt even with guards nearby. The Edo period is harsh, its punishments for theft, tattoos, cages, public marches designed to shame and deter, and this march will parade him through the market bells tied to his waist to draw jeers from merchants and children. You've bound thieves before their faces, a blur of shame or defiance, each one a thread in Edo's justice, a city where a stolen rice sack can mark a man for life. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern thief in this rope. Public walk, they'd live stream their apology, you think amused by their social media stunts. You tie the final knot, looping the rope twice for strength, and test it with a gentle tug, the hemp holding fast, its fibers creaking faintly under the strain. The thief's wrists are secure, his hands limp in the binding, and you rise brushing dirt from your kimono. The cotton, catching on your fingers, a faint ink smudge from the morning's work still lingering on your sleeve. The guards nod, their eyes sharp but approving, and you step back the thief, now their charge, until the march begins. The square is busier now, the sun higher, its light spilling over the tiled roofs, warming the air with the scent of charcoal and a faint floral note from a nearby garden. You hear the fishmonger's shout, his voice cutting through the crowd, and the soft clink of a coin as a customer buys a skewer, a reminder of Edo's pulse alive with trade and temptation. You adjust your obi, the indigo cotton snug against your waist, and check your sandals, ensuring no dirt clings to their straw, a habit to keep the magistrate's eyes off your flaws. The rope's weight is gone from your hands, but its texture lingers, a faint roughness on your palms, and you feel a small pebble caught in the sandal's weave, likely from the courtyard. You flick it away, the straw, scratching your fingers, and glance at the thief. His head still bowed, his bound wrists, a quiet mark of your work. The Edo system is strange, its punishments blending shame and spectacle, and you've seen crowds gather to mock thieves, their jeers louder than any magistrate's verdict. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by their task's demands. You notice a small sparrow perched on the guard post's roof, its chirp a bright note in the square's clamour, and you recall the elders' tales of sparrows as luck-bringers, though you're not one for signs, just a dosh in your mind on the thief and the march to come. The air grows warmer, the sun's heat pressing through your kimono, and you catch a whiff of sake from the shop, its sharp tang, a contrast to the market's savoury haze. You think of the modern world with its handcuffs and holding cells. Would they trade their gear for this tying ropes in a dusty square, a city waiting to judge? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista fumbling a knot, their coffee order useless in Edo streets. You remember the bamboo cage, you checked its bars secure, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you toward the march, the thief's fate now in your hands. Historians still debate whether Edo's shaming marches were meant to punish or reform, but you don't care much for the debate. The rope is tied, and that's enough to keep you moving. You glance at the guards ready to lead the thief, the market's noise swelling the streets, waiting for the spectacle to begin. You step forward from the guard post, the thief's wrists now bound with hemp rope, its knots tight against his trembling hands, his patchy beard and tattered kimono, a stark contrast to the market's vibrant hum beyond the square. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held by the indigo obi sash, and your straw sandals crunch on the packed earth, their woven soles steady, despite the weight of your role as a doshin, enforcing Edo's strange justice. The tools in your sleeve bamboo rod cloth tap softly, a quiet reminder of the tasks that fill your days from inking arms to checking cages. The midday air is warm, thick with the scent of grilled eel and charcoal from nearby stalls, the fishmonger's shouts mingling with the clink of coins and the distant chime of a temple bell. The thief's punishment ordered by the magistrate is a public shaming march through Edo's streets, and you must lead him bells tied to his waist, guiding him through jeering crowds as the city watches. You take the thief's arm, your grip firm but gentle, and lead him from the bench, his bound wrists forcing small shuffling steps, his eyes fixed on the ground, avoiding the senior guard's stern gazes. You tie a string of small brass bells to his waist, their tinny jingle sharp in the square's bustle, a sound meant to draw attention, to mark him as a thief for all to see. The bells are light, their metal warm from the sun, and they clink with each step, a mocking chorus that will follow him through the market. You adjust your obi, the indigo cotton snug, and check your sandals, ensuring no dust clings to their straw, a habit to keep the magistrate's eyes off your flaws. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern bailiff. No escort van, just bells and booze. They'd probably call for a megaphone and a squad car. You lead the thief into the street, the guards falling in behind their bamboo rods at their sides, a silent threat to keep order. The market opens before you, a sea of wooden stalls and colorful banners, the air thick with the scents of soy sauce, sesame oil, and fresh radishes piled high. The crowd parts, their voices dropping to whispers, then rising in jeers as the bells jingle heads, turning merchants pausing mid-haggle, children pointing, women clutching baskets tighter. You walk slowly, your sandals steady on the dirt path, the thief's steps faltering beside you, his face flushed with shame, his bound hands trembling under the crowd's gaze. The Edo period is ruthless, its punishments for theft tattoos, cages, marches like this crafted to shame and deter, a spectacle that turns a stolen coin into a city-wide lesson. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern thief in this parade. Viral try, jeered by 1,000, you think, amused by their fleeting courtrooms. You guide him past a tofu stall, the vendor's ladle pausing as he shouts a taunt, his voice sharp but playful, the crowd laughing, a ripple of mockery that follows you. A child tosses a small pebble, missing the thief, but skittering across your sandal, its straw catching the dust, and you keep moving your grip on his arm. Steady your face, calm to avoid escalating the crowd's fervor. The bells jingle louder, their chime cutting through the market's noise, and you feel the sun's heat through your kimono, a bead of sweat tracing down your neck, caught by the obi's fold. The street narrows the wooden walls of shops, leaning close their signs painted with bold kanji, and you navigate the path your sandals dodging a spilled radish, its green top wilting in the dirt. The thief stumbles his bound wrists, throwing him off balance, and you tighten your grip, helping him regain his step. His breath ragged but silent, his eyes still on the ground. You've led shame parades before each one, a blur of faces and shouts. The thief's crime rice cloth a coin drowned by the crowd's scorn. The Edo system is strange. Its justice a mix of shame and spectacle, and you've seen thieves weep or curse their fates sealed by ropes and bells. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by their task's demands. You notice a small sparrow flitting overhead, its chirp lost in the jeers, and recall the elders' tales of sparrows as omens, though you're not one for signs, just a dosh in your mind on the march. The crowd thickens, a merchant in a green kimono shouting about stolen wares, his voice joining the bell's jingle, and you keep your pace slow, your sandals steady, the kimono's cotton brushing your legs. The air is heavy, the scents of fish and charcoal now mixed with a faint floral note from a passing woman's hair, her obi tied in a delicate bow. You adjust the thief's arm, ensuring he stays upright, and feel a faint ache in your shoulders from the day's work, inking, tying, patrolling. You think of the modern world with its court hearings and paroles. Would they trade their laws for this, leading a thief through jeers, bells ringing in the streets? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista dodging pebbles in a parade, their coffee order useless in Edo's clamor. You remember the bamboo cage, you checked its bars secure, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you through the market's heart. Historians still debate whether Edo's shame parades were meant to reform thieves or entertain crowds, but you don't care much for the debate. The bells are ringing, and that's enough to keep you guiding. You tug the thief's arm gently, the crowd's jeers fading as you near the square's edge, ready for the next task. Edo's justice waiting in the street's endless hum. You step away from the market square, the thief's shame parade fading behind you, the jingle of bells and the crowd's jeers softening as you weave through Edo's bustling streets, the thief now in the senior guard's hands for his next punishment. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held by the indigo obi sash, faintly creased from guiding the thief, and your straw sandals scuff the packed earth, their woven soles gritty with market dust. The tools in your sleeve bamboo rod cloth tap gently, a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin enforcing the city's strange justice for theft. The afternoon air is warm, thick with the scent of soy sauce and grilled skewers from nearby stalls, the hum of vendors and cartwheels blending with a distant temple bell. Your next task awaits at the guard post, near the square, cleaning the bamboo rods used for minor punishments, ensuring they're ready for the magistrate's next sentencing. You walk toward the post, pulling the cloth from your sleeve, ready to scrub under Edo's watchful rhythm. You arrive at the guard post, its wooden walls weathered tucked between the fishmonger's stall and the sake shop, the air heavy with the mingled scents of eel and rice wine. A small wooden bench sits outside beside a clay basin filled with water, its surface rippling faintly in the breeze, the liquid clear but tinged with a faint earthy smell from the city's well. You kneel beside the bench, your kimono's hem brushing the dirt, and pull the bamboo rod from your sleeve, its surface smooth but slightly rough, marked with faint stains from yesterday's use, a light beating for a thief who stole a merchant's cloth. You dip the cloth into the water, its cotton soft but worn, and begin to scrub the rod, the fabric gliding over the bamboo, removing dust and faint traces of sweat. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern janitor. No disinfectant, just water and grit. They'd probably grab a spray bottle and gloves. You work slowly, your hands moving in gentle circles, the cloth's damp texture cool against your fingers, the bamboo's grain catching faintly under the pressure. The rod is light, designed for quick stinging strikes, a punishment meant to shame more than harm. Though you've seen thieves wince under its snap, their faces flushed with regret. The Edo period is strict, its justice for theft. Blending pain and spectacle tattoos, cages, parades and rods like this, each a tool to keep the city's order. You've cleaned rods before a routine task to ensure they're free of splinters or stains, ready for the magistrate's next order, a small but vital part of your work as a doshin. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern security guard polishing their gear. Taser maintenance, try bamboo. You think amused by their high-tech toys. You rinse the cloth in the basin, the water now cloudy with dust, and wring it out, droplets falling to the dirt, their soft patter blending with the fishmonger's distant shout. The bamboo gleams its surface clean, and you set it on the bench, reaching for another rod from a small pile nearby. This one thicker used for repeat offenders, its tip slightly worn from heavier strikes. You scrub it, the cloth moving steadily, and feel a faint ache in your wrists from the day's work, inking arms, tying ropes, leading parades. The guard post is quiet, the senior guards elsewhere, and you hear a sparrow chirp, its call a bright note in the square's bustle, perched on the post's tiled roof. You recall the elders' tales of sparrows as luck-bringers. But you're not one for omens, just a doshin your mind on the rods and the thieves they'll meet. You pause to stretch your fingers, the cloth damp in your hand, and notice a small ink smudge on your kimono's sleeve. A mark from the thief's tattoo this morning, stubborn despite your earlier rubbing. You'll wash it later, your hands are for justice, not laundry. The air grows warmer, the sun high, its light spilling over the square, warming the dirt under your sandals, and you catch a whiff of sake from the shop, its sharp tang a contrast to the market's savory haze. The rods are part of Edo's strange justice, used to punish petty thieves who escape the cage or tattoo. Their strike's a public lesson in a city where theft is as common as the morning fog. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by tools that shape their days. You finish the second rod, its bamboo gleaming like polished wood, and set it beside the first, their surfaces clean ready for the next sentencing. You rinse the cloth one last time, the basin's water now murky, and fold it, tucking it back into your sleeve, its dampness a faint weight against your arm. The square is alive, a crowd gathering around a noodle vendor's cart, the steam curling upward, its savory scent weaving through the air. You feel a small pebble caught in your sandal's weave, likely from the parade's path, and flick it away, the straw scratching your fingers. You think of the modern world with its polished batons and sterile jails. Would they trade their gear for this scrubbing bamboo in a dusty square, a city's justice in your hands? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista cleaning a taser, their coffee order useless in Edo's streets. You remember the thief's bells, their jingle a faint echo in your mind, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you toward the next task. Historians still debate whether Edo's bamboo rods were meant to punish or teach. But you don't care much for the debate. The rods are clean, and that's enough to keep you moving. You stand brushing dirt from your kimono, the guard post's shadow, lengthening, ready to return to the magistrate's orders. Edo's justice, waiting in the street's endless hum. You step away from the guard post. The bamboo rods, now scrubbed clean, their polished surfaces gleaming faintly on the bench, free of dust, and ready for the magistrate's next sentencing. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, and your straw sandals scuff softly on the packed dirt, their woven soles gritty from the market's dust. The damp cloth in your sleeve, still warm from cleaning taps, gently against your arm, a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin enforcing Edo's strange punishments for theft. The afternoon sun hangs low, warming the air with the scent of grilled fish and charcoal, the fishmonger's shouts fading as you move toward the guardhouse nearby, its wooden walls a haven from the square's clamor. Your stomach rumbles the day's tasks, inking arms, tying ropes, leading parades, leaving you hungry. And it's time to eat. You enter the guardhouse, ready to share a rice meal with fellow guards, swapping tales in its dim light, a moment of rest amid Edo's relentless rhythm. The guardhouse is a small, low-ceilinged room, its tatami mats worn but fragrant with straw, the walls of dark wood lit by a single oil lamp, its flame flickering softly, casting warm shadows across the floor. You ease yourself onto a mat, your kimono's hem brushing the straw, and join three other guards, their blue kimonos faded like yours, their faces lined with the city's weight. Hiro, a gruff man with a scar above his brow, Taro, young and quick to laugh, and Kenji, silent but sharp-eyed. A low wooden table holds a clay pot of steamed rice, its grains glistening, and a small bowl of pickled radish, their sharp scent rising in the warm air. You take a wooden bowl, its surface smooth but chipped, and scoop rice, the steam curling upward, its starchy warmth a quiet comfort. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern office worker. Lunch break, just rice and gossip. They'd probably order sushi and scroll their phones. You take a bite, the rice soft and slightly sticky, its flavor plain, but filling a taste that grounds you after the market's chaos. Hiro passes a small jar of miso, its salty tang mingling with the rice, and you spoon a bit into your bowl, stirring it slowly, the wooden spoon clinking faintly against the clay. The guards are quiet at first, their chopsticks moving in rhythm, the lamp's glow painting their faces in soft golds. Then Taro speaks, his voice light, telling a tale about a thief who tried to steal a samurai's fan, only to trip over a stray cat and land in a fish cart, the crowd laughing louder than any shame parade's bells. You grin the story's absurdity, a spark in the guardhouse's calm, and you chuckle softly, picturing a modern vlogger covering this. Epic thief fail, they'd need a flashier thumbnail. You lean back the tatami mat, crinkling under your weight, and take another bite, the rice's warmth spreading through your chest, the miso's salt a gentle sting on your tongue. Hero wiping his scarred brow counters with a story about a merchant who faked a theft to dodge taxes only to be caught when his own son bragged at a sack shop. The guards laugh a low rumble, and you listen, your voice quiet, letting their tales wash over you like the lamp's soft light. The Edo period is strict, its justice for theft, tattoos, cages, marches a web of consequences. But the guardhouse is a haven where stories of thieves and tricks lighten the weight of ropes and rods. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their tales shared under canvas a world apart, yet kin in their labor's shared breath, both bound by moments of rest. You reach for a pickled radish, its crisp bite sharp against the rice, and sip from a clay cup of water, its coolness a faint relief, though it carries a trace of the river's silt, a taste of Edo's lifeblood. Taro's story shifts now about a thief who swore his tattoo brought him luck winning at dice until he stole again and landed in a cage. Kenji, usually silent, snorts a rare sound, and you grin the guardhouse's warmth wrapping around you like a woven mat. You notice a small moth fluttering near the lamp, its wings a pale blur, a fleeting visitor in the dim light, and you recall the elders' tales of moths as spirits. Though you're not one for myths, just a dosh in your mind on the rice and the guards' tales. You think of the modern world with its break rooms and chatter. Would they trade their snacks for this rice in a dim guardhouse, stories of thieves? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista swapping office, gossip their latte useless in Edo's haze. Your muscles ache, the days inking, tying, and parading a steady weight. But the rice and stories ease it, a quiet fuel for the hours ahead. You adjust your obi, its indigo cotton snug, and brush a grain of rice from your kimono, the fabric rough under your fingers, the ink smudge from this morning still faint on your sleeve. The guards' voices continue now, debating a thief who tried to bribe a guard with a stolen fish, their laughter soft but warm. You think of the bamboo cage, you checked its bars secure, and the thief's bells from the parade, their jingle a distant echo. The guardhouse's lamp flickers the tatami's straw, a gentle cradle, and you feel Edo's rhythm pulling you toward the next task, the city's justice waiting beyond the walls. Historians still debate whether Edo's guards shared meals to build camaraderie or simply to eat, but you don't care much for the debate. The rice is gone, and that's enough to keep you here. You set your bowl down, the clay clinking softly, and prepare to rise, the guardhouse's dim light fading, ready for the next duty in Edo's endless streets. You rise from the tatami mat in the guardhouse, the clay bowl of rice now empty, its starchy warmth settling in your stomach. The guards' tales of clumsy thieves and tricky merchants fading into the dim flicker of the oil lamp. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds, held snug by the indigo obi sash, faintly creased from sitting, and your straw sandals scuff softly on the straw mats, their woven soles catching a stray grain of rice. The damp cloth in your sleeve, used to clean bamboo rods earlier, rests quietly, a reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing Edo's strange punishments for theft. The late afternoon air seeps through the guardhouse's wooden walls, carrying the scent of charcoal and grilled fish from the market. The cities hum vendors shouting cartwheels, creaking a distant pulse beyond the post. Your next task awaits in the square outside, inspecting a wooden pillory, its locks and hinges needing a check to secure a thief for a public stint. You step out ready to test the pillory, the market's clamour guiding you forward. The square is bustling, a patchwork of stalls and banners, the air thick with the scents of soy sauce, sesame oil, and fresh radishes piled high, though the sun's light is softer now, casting long shadows across the packed dirt. The pillory stands near the guard post, a sturdy wooden frame with two hinged boards, their holes cut to trap a thief's neck and wrists, its surface weathered but solid, carved with faint kanji marking its magistrate's seal. You approach, your sandals crunching on the dirt, and kneel beside it, the kimono's hem brushing the ground, its cotton catching a small twig from the square's clutter. You run your fingers along the pillory's edge, feeling the wood's smooth grain, checking for cracks or splinters that could weaken its hold. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern jailer. No cell, just a wooden trap. They'd probably call for steel bars and a keypad. You test the hinges, their iron pins rusted but firm, and lift the top board, its weight heavy in your hands, creaking faintly as it opens, the wood's scent, earthy and slightly damp from the morning's mist. The locks, two iron latches with sliding bolts, are simple but strong, designed to keep a thief pinned for hours, their public display a shaming punishment for stealing rice cloth or coins. You slide a bolt, feeling it catch and tug gently, ensuring it holds the iron cool and rough under your fingers. The Edo period is unforgiving, its justice for theft blending pain and spectacle tattoos, cages, parades, and pillories like this, each a tool to deter in a city where temptation lurks in every market stall. You've checked pillories before a routine task to prevent escapes, and you've seen thieves squirm in them, their necks red from the wood's grip, crowds jeering louder than any bell. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern shoplifter in this pillory. Time out. Try a day in the stocks, you think, amused by their quick fines and apologies. You move to the second latch, sliding its bolt, the iron scraping faintly, and check the hinge's pin, ensuring it's secure, the wood groaning as you lower the board, its holes aligning perfectly. The square's noise wraps around you, merchants haggling, a child's laugh, the clatter of a cart, and you catch a whiff of grilled eel, sharp and savory, mingling with the dust kicked up by passing sandals. Your kimono shifts, the obi's knot firm against your waist, and you notice a faint ink smudge on your sleeve, a mark from the thief's tattoo days ago, stubborn despite your scrubbing. You rub it with your thumb, the cotton rough, and let it be. Your hands are for justice, not vanity. The pillory's locks are sound, but you test them again, sliding each bolt, the iron's weight a quiet promise of security under the magistrate's orders. You stand brushing dirt from your kimono and feel a faint ache in your knees from kneeling, the day's work inking, tying, parading, cleaning, settling into your muscles. A small sparrow flits past, landing on a nearby stall, its chirp lost in the market's clamour, and you recall the elders' tales of sparrows as luck-bringers, though you're not one for omens, just a dosh in your mind on the pillory and the thief it'll hold. The air grows cooler, the sun dipping its light softening the square's edges, and you hear a vendor's shout, his voice sharp, as he hawks tofu, a reminder of Edo's pulse alive with trade and trickery. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by tools that shape their days. You glance at the pillory one last time, its boards steady, the locks secure, ready for the thief who'll crouch beneath its weight, the crowd's eyes a heavier burden than the wood. You notice a small leaf caught in your sandal's weave, likely from the cherry tree in the magistrate's courtyard, and flick it away, the straw scratching your fingers. You think of the modern world with its holding cells and surveillance. Would they trade their systems for this checking wooden locks, crowds waiting to jeer? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista guarding a pillory, their coffee order useless in Edo's streets. You remember the rice shared with the guards, its warmth, a faint echo in your stomach, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you toward the next task. Edo's justice, waiting in the market's endless hum. Historians still debate whether Edo's pillories were meant to punish or reform, but you don't care much for the debate. The locks are secure, and that's enough to keep you moving. You turn from the pillory, the square's clamor rising, ready for the next duty, the street's shadows lengthening as the day wears on. You step away from the pillory, its wooden locks now secure the heavy boards, gleaming faintly in the late afternoon sun, ready to trap the next thief under Edo's jeering crowds. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, and your straw sandals scuff the packed dirt of the market square, their woven soles gritty with dust from the day's tasks. The tools in your sleeve, bamboo rod, cloth tap, softly a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The air is warm, thick, with the scent of grilled eel and sesame oil from nearby stalls, the hum of vendors and cartwheels blending with a distant temple bell's chime. Your next task pulls you to the city's edge, where a thief convicted of stealing a merchant's silver faces exile, and you must oversee his departure, watching as his cart creaks out of Edo's gates. You walk toward the outskirts, your sandals steady, ready to witness the banishment under the fading light. The city thins as you move beyond the market, the bustling stalls giving way to quieter streets, their dirt paths lined with low wooden houses and bamboo fences, the air cooler with a faint tang of river water from the Sumida nearby. You reach the northern gate, a sturdy wooden arch flanked by stone lanterns, their unlit wicks waiting for dusk, the path beyond stretching into fields and distant hills. A small crowd gathers guards, a few merchants curious onlookers, their voices low, their eyes on a rickety wooden cart, its wheels wobbling loaded with a thief's meager belongings, a tattered kimono, a clay bowl, a bundle of rice. The thief, a middle-aged man with a tattooed arm and weary eyes, sits in the cart, his wrists unbound, but his shoulders slumped, his exile a punishment harsher than any cage or parade. You stand by the gate, your kimono catching a faint breeze, and watch your hands still ready to ensure the banishment proceeds smoothly. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern parole officer. No halfway house, just a cart and goodbye. They'd probably file a report and call it a day. You adjust your obi, the indigo cotton snug against your waist, and observe the thief. his gaze fixed on the path ahead, his tattoo a double circle from a prior theft visible on his exposed arm, a mark that will follow him to whatever village or wilderness takes him. The Edo period is merciless, its punishments for theft escalating with each crime, and exile reserved for repeat offenders or serious thefts, strips a man of home and honor, casting him out to beg or wander. You've overseen exiles before their carts, creaking under the weight of shame, the crowd's murmurs softer than the jeers of a shame parade, but heavier a quiet judgment in the city's eyes. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern criminal facing this. Community service. Try banished for life, you think amused by their quick plea deals and probation. You nod to a senior guard, his bamboo rod at his side, and he signals the cart's driver, a wiry man with a straw hat, to move. The cart lurches its wooden wheels, groaning, the thief swaying slightly, his hands gripping the edge, his face pale but silent. The crowd watches a merchant muttering about stolen silver, a woman whispering to her child, their voices a low hum against the creak of the cart. You walk beside it, your sandals steady on the dirt path, keeping pace as the gate looms closer, its wooden arch a threshold between Edo and the unknown. The air is cooler here, the scent of charcoal fading, replaced by the earthy tang of grass, and the river's damp breath a reminder of the world beyond the city's walls. Your kimono shifts, the obi's knot firm, and you feel a faint ache in your legs from the day's work inking, tying, parading, cleaning, a steady weight you carry as a doshin. The cart passes under the gate, its wheels rattling, and you pause watching it roll into the fields, the thief's figure shrinking against the hills, his tattooed arm a faint mark in the fading light. The crowd disperses, their murmurs trailing off, and you stand still, your sandals rooted to the earth, the gate's shadow lengthening across the path. The Edo system is strange, its justice a mix of shame and severance and exile, though rare, is a punishment that lingers, a thief's life cut from the city's fabric, left to fray in the wild. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by tasks that shape their days. You notice a small dragonfly hovering near a lantern, its wings a blur, a fleeting visitor in the dusk's calm, and you recall the elders' tales of dragonflies as travelers' guides. Though you're not one for myths, just a doshin your mind on the thief and the cart's creaking fade. You adjust your kimono, brushing a speck of dust from the sleeve, the cotton rough under your fingers, the ink smudge from earlier, still faint but fading. The air grows cooler, the breeze carrying a faint floral note from a distant garden, and you hear a vendor's shout from the market, a reminder of Edo's pulse alive even as the day wanes. You think of the modern world with its deportation laws and prisons. Would they trade their systems for this, watching a thief's cart roll away a city's judgment final? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista overseeing an exile, their coffee order useless in Edo's dusk. You remember the rice shared with the guards, its warmth a faint echo in your stomach, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you back to its streets. The next task, waiting in the fading light. Historians still debate whether Edo's exiles were meant to punish or protect the city, but you don't care much for the debate. The cart is gone, and that's enough to keep you moving. You turn from the gate, the field stretching silent behind you, ready for the next duty, Edo's justice. waiting in the city's endless hum. You turn from the northern gate, the exiled thief's cart, now a faint speck against the hills, its creaking wheels swallowed by the dusk's silence. The crowd's murmurs fading as they disperse into Edo's winding streets. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, and your straw sandals scuff the packed dirt, their woven soles catching faint grit from the path beyond the city. The tools in your sleeve bamboo rod cloth tap softly, a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The evening air is cool, carrying the earthy scent of grass and the distant tang of the Sumida River, a contrast to the market's earlier clamour of grilled fish and soy sauce. Your next task awaits at the magistrate's office, where you must record the details of a theft case, a merchant's stolen coin pouch. The thief you inked and paraded, inking a report in the office's quiet. You walk back toward the city's heart, ready to write the street's hum, guiding you to the office's lamplit calm. The magistrate's office is a low wooden building, its tiled roof glowing faintly in the twilight, tucked near a temple, the soft chime of a bell drifting through the air. You enter through a sliding door, its shoji screens casting a warm, diffused light from oil lamps inside the room's tatami mats, fragrant with straw, their edges worn but neat. A low wooden desk sits in the center, its surface smooth, holding an inkstone, a brush, and a stack of rice paper, their faint papery scent mingling with the lamp's smoky tang. You kneel at the desk, your kimono's hem brushing the tatami, and adjust your obi, the indigo cotton snug, ensuring your sleeve won't smudge the ink. You dip the brush into the inkstone, grinding it gently to mix the ink, its black sheen catching the lamp's glow, and begin to write, the bristles gliding over the paper, recording the theft case with careful strokes. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern clerk. No laptop, just ink and patience. They'd probably grab a keyboard and coffee. You write slowly, your hand steady, forming kanji with deliberate care. The merchant's name, the stolen pouch, the thief's tattoo. The shame parade's path through the market. The ink drips faintly, a small bead pooling at the brush's tip, and you pause to wipe it with the cloth from your sleeve. It's cotton soft but stained from earlier tasks. The motion, a quiet ritual in the office's stillness. The Edo period demands precision. It's justice for theft. Tattoos, cages, parades, exiles, recorded in reports like this, each case a thread in the magistrate's web, ensuring no thief's crime is forgotten. You've written reports before their kanji, a blur of names and crimes, each one a small weight, a record of Edo's order. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern detective filing this. Paperwork. Try calligraphy in a kimono, you think amused by their digital forms and staplers. The brush moves smoothly, the paper crinkling faintly under its strokes, and you feel a faint ache in your wrist from the day's work, inking arms, tying ropes, leading parades, cleaning rods. The office is quiet, save for the soft scratch of the brush and the lamp's gentle hiss. The temple bells chime, a distant hum through the shoji screens. You notice a small moth fluttering near the lamp, its wings a pale blur, a fleeting visitor in the dim light, and you recall the elders' tales of moths as spirits. Though you're not one for myths, just a dosh in your mind on the ink and the report. The air is warm, the scent of ink and straw now mixed with a faint floral note, from a plum tree outside its blossoms, carried on the evening breeze. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labour's weight, both bound by tasks that shape their days. You finish the report. The kanji kneat the ink drying in soft black lines and set the brush down, its bristles glistening faintly. The paper a quiet testament to the thief's fate. You fold it carefully, the rice paper crinkling, and place it in a wooden box on the desk, its lid carved with a simple crane, a mark of the magistrate's office. Your kimono shifts the obi's knot firm, and you notice a faint ink smudge on your fingers, a mark of your work stubborn like the one on your sleeve from days ago. You wipe it with the cloth, the cotton rough, and let it be. Your hands are for justice, not perfection. The office's stillness wraps around you, a contrast to the market's clamour, and you feel a quiet satisfaction, like a task well done in a city that never rests. You stand brushing straw from your kimono and adjust your sandals, ensuring no ink has splashed their weave, a habit to keep the magistrate's eyes off your flaws. The evening grows cooler, the lamps glow softening, and you hear a vendor's shout from the square, a reminder of Edo's pulse alive even as the day fades. You think of the modern world with its databases and reports. Would they trade their screens for this inking kanji in a lamplit office? A city's justice in your brush. You laugh quietly, picturing a barista typing a theft report, their coffee order useless in Edo's dusk. You remember the thief's exile, the cart's creak, a faint echo in your mind, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you toward the next task. Edo's streets waiting beyond the office's quiet. Historians still debate whether Edo's theft reports were for record-keeping or bureaucratic control. But you don't care much for the debate. The report is done, and that's enough to keep you moving. You slide the shoji screen, open the evening air, cool, ready for the next duty. The city's hum calling you back to its endless justice. You slide the shoji screen closed behind you, leaving the magistrate's office. The folded rice paper report now tucked in its wooden box, the ink's faint scent lingering on your fingers like a shadow of the theft case you recorded. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, and your straw sandals scuff the packed dirt path, their woven soles catching a stray pebble from Edo's evening streets. The tools in your sleeve bamboo rod cloth tap softly, a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The twilight air is cool, carrying the scent of charcoal and grilled fish from nearby stalls, the hum of vendors and the clatter of carts softening as the market winds down. Your next task awaits at the guard post, escorting a tattooed thief previously marked for stealing a merchant's cloth to a labor site, where he'll work off his crime. You walk toward the post, ready to lead the thief, his inked arms bared in shame under Edo's fading light. The guard post is a familiar wooden structure, its tiled roof glowing faintly in the dusk, nestled between the fishmonger's stall and the sake shop, their scents of eel and rice wine now faint in the cooling air. The thief, a wiry man with a shaved head and wary eyes, stands by a bench, his kimono sleeve rolled up, revealing 2 black circles tattooed on his forearm, marks of past thefts that brand him as untrustworthy in Edo's eyes. You nod to a senior guard, his bamboo rod at his side, and take the thief's arm, your grip firm but not harsh, guiding him toward a nearby labor site, a canal where workers dredge mud for the city's waterways. His wrists are unbound, his punishment now labor rather than ropes or cages, but his inked arms are a public badge of shame. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern corrections officer. No work release, just tattoos and toil. They'd probably pull up a spreadsheet and call it a day. You lead him through the streets, your sandals steady on the dirt path. The thief's steps slow, his head bowed, his tattooed arm exposed to the glances of passers-by. Merchants closing stalls, women carrying baskets, children whispering as they point. The streets are quieter now, the market's bustle giving way to the soft clink of shutters and the murmur of evening chatter, the air cool with a faint tang of river water from the Sumida nearby. You keep your pace, even your kimono's cotton, brushing your legs, the obis not firm against your waist, and feel the evening breeze carrying a trace of plum blossoms from a garden, a sweet note in the city's dust. The thief's tattoos stark against his skin draw eyes, their circles a silent warning, in a city where theft is met with shame and spectacle. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern parolee with these marks. Scarlet letter. Try ink for life, you think, amused by their temporary sentences. You guide him past a noodle stall, its lanterns glowing faintly, the vendor's ladle still, as he watches, his gaze more curious than cruel, though the thief shrinks under it, his arm twitching as if to hide the ink. You tighten your grip slightly, keeping him moving, your sandals dodging a spilled radish, its green top wilted in the dirt. The Edo period is strict, its punishments for theft, tattoos, parades, pillories, exile designed to mark and deter and labor, like dredging canals, is a common sentence. For repeat offenders, their work a public penance. You've escorted thieves to labor before their inked arms a badge of their crimes, their steps heavy with the weight of Edo's judgment. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by tasks that grind their days. You reach the canal, a narrow waterway lined with wooden pilings, its surface dark and rippling, the air heavy with the scent of mud and damp wood. Workers shovel sludge into carts, their kimonos splattered, their voices low as they glance at the thief. His tattoos, a silent explanation for his presence. You lead him to a guard overseeing the site, a stout man with a bamboo rod, and release his arm, your hand brushing the kimono's sleeve, the cotton catching a faint smudge of canal mud. The thief steps forward, his inked arm bared, and picks up a shovel. His movements slow, the crowd's eyes a heavier burden than the mud. You stand back, your sandals steady, watching to ensure he begins your role. Now observation, the labor, his sentence under Edo's strange justice. You notice a small dragonfly hovering near the canal, its wings a blur in the dusk's light, a fleeting visitor in the city's grime, and you recall the elders' tales of dragonflies as guides, though you're not one for myths, just a dosh in your mind on the thief and the labor ahead. The air grows cooler, the breeze stirring your kimono, and you catch a faint whiff of sake from a passing merchant, its tang a contrast to the canal's muddy scent. You think of the modern world with its community service and probation. Would they trade their systems for this, escorting a marked thief to labor ink bared in shame? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista supervising a work crew, their coffee order useless in Edo's dusk. You remember the rice shared with the guards, its warmth a faint echo in your stomach, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you toward the next task, Edo's justice, waiting in the street's fading light. Historians still debate whether Edo's labor sentences aim to reform thieves or exploit their work, but you don't care much for the debate. The thief is laboring, and that's enough to keep you moving. You adjust your obi the cotton snug and turn from the canal, the workers' shovels scraping ready for the next duty, Edo's hum, calling you back to its endless streets. You step away from the canal's muddy banks, the tattooed thief now shoveling sludge under the guard's watchful eye. His inked arms bared in shame, the rhythmic scrape of his shovel fading as you weave back through Edo's quieting streets. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, faintly creased from the day's labor, and your straw sandals scuff the packed dirt, their woven soles catching faint grit from the city's paths. The tools in your sleeve, bamboo rod cloth, tap softly, a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The evening air is cool, carrying the scent of river water and the faint smoke of charcoal fires. The market's bustle, now a distant hum, replaced by the soft clatter of shutters closing for the night. Your next task awaits at a small square near the magistrate's office, adjusting a thief's wooden stocks, ensuring they're tight for a public display. You walk toward the square, ready to fit the thief, the city's twilight guiding your steps. The square is modest, a patch of packed dirt surrounded by wooden shops and a single willow tree, its drooping branches casting long shadows in the fading light, the air tinged with the scent of grilled tofu and damp earth from a recent drizzle. The wooden stocks stand in the center, a low frame with 3 holes cut for the thief's neck, and wrists, their boards hinged and locked with iron bolts, their surface weathered but sturdy, carved with faint kanji marking the magistrate's seal. The thief, a young woman with a nervous frown caught stealing a bolt of silk, kneels beside the stocks, her kimono sleeve rolled up, revealing a fresh tattoo, a single black circle inked yesterday for her crime. You approach your sandals, silent on the dirt, and kneel beside her, the kimono's hem brushing the ground, its cotton, catching a small leaf from the willow. You adjust the stock's top board, ready to fit her, ensuring the hold is tight for the display. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern prison guard. No cuffs, just wood and shame. They'd probably pull out a key card and call it a day. You lift the top board, its hinges creaking faintly, the wood heavy but smooth under your fingers, and guide the thief's neck and wrists into the holes, her skin cool and trembling, her breath shallow as she complies, her eyes fixed on the dirt. You lower the board, aligning it carefully, and slide the iron bolts into place, their metal cool and rough locking with a soft click that echoes in the square's stillness. You tug gently, ensuring the stocks are tight, but not crushing a balance you've learned to prevent escape while sparing undue pain, though the public's jeers will sting more than the wood's grip. The Edo period is strict, its punishments for theft tattoos, parade stocks crafted to shame and deter, and this display, a day in the stocks, will mark her as a thief for all to see, a lesson in a city of watchful eyes. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern offender in these stocks. Time out. Try a day in the spotlight. You think amused by their quick finds and hearings. You adjust the bolts, tightening them slightly, the iron scraping as you turn, and check the hinges, ensuring no give could let her slip free, the wood's grain catching faintly under your fingers. The square is quiet, a few passers-by, merchants, a monk glancing at the thief. Their murmurs low, their eyes more curious than cruel, though she shrinks under their gaze, her tattooed arm stark against her kimono. The air is cool, the scent of charcoal now mixed with a faint floral note from the willow's leaves, and you hear a sparrow chirp. Its call a bright spark in the twilight, perched on a nearby roof. You recall the elders' tales of sparrows as luck-bringers, but you're not one for omens, just a dosh in your mind on the stocks and the thief they hold. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by tasks that shape their days. You stand brushing dirt from your kimono and notice a faint ink smudge on your sleeve, a stubborn mark from the report you wrote its shadow, a quiet record of your work. You rub it with your thumb, the cotton rough, and let it be your hands are for justice, not perfection. The thief's shoulders tense, the stock's wood creaking faintly as she shifts, and you step back, ensuring she's secure, your sandals steady on the dirt. The magistrate's orders are clear. She'll stay until dusk. Her crime a public lesson, the crowd's eyes a heavier sentence than the wood. You fitted stocks before their locks, a routine part of Edo's strange justice, and you've seen thieves endure them, their faces flushed with shame, their tattoos bared for all to judge. You think of the modern world, with its community service and jails. Would they trade their systems for this fitting stocks in a quiet square shame? As the sentence, you laugh quietly, picturing a barista locking a thief in wood, their coffee order useless in Edo's streets. You glance at the willow, its branches swaying in the breeze, and notice a small dragonfly hovering near the stocks. Its wings a blur, a fleeting visitor in the square's calm. The evening grows cooler, the air carrying a faint whiff of sake from a passing merchant. Its tang, a contrast to the square's earthy scent. You remember the rice shared with the guards, its warmth a faint echo in your stomach, and the thief's bells from the shame parade, their jingle a distant pulse in your mind. The square's rhythm is slow, the thief's stocks secure, and you feel Edo's pulse pulling you toward the next task. The city's justice waiting beyond the willow's shade. Historians still debate whether Edo's stocks were meant to humiliate or rehabilitate, but you don't care much for the debate. The thief is locked, and that's enough to keep you moving. You turn from the stocks, the square's shadows deepening, ready for the next duty, Edo's streets calling you back to their endless hum. You step away from the square, the thief now locked in the wooden stocks, her tattooed arm bared to the gathering dusk, the willow tree's shadows lengthening as her public display begins under Edo's watchful eyes. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, faintly creased from kneeling, and your straw sandals scuff the packed dirt, their woven soles catching a small twig from the square's clutter. The tools in your sleeve, bamboo rodcloth, tap softly, a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The evening air is cool, carrying the scent of damp earth and grilled tofu from nearby stalls. The hum of the market softening as shutters close and lanterns flicker to life. Your next task isn't urgent, a rare pause in the day's rhythm, and you linger by a crowded market stall drawn by the low buzz of gossip about recent thefts, ready to listen to the city's whispers in the twilight's calm. The stall is a small wooden stand, its awning sagging piled high with radishes, eggplants and bundles of green onions, their sharp, earthy scent mingling with the faint smoke of a charcoal brazier nearby. You stand to the side, your kimono blending with the evening shadows, your sandals steady on the dirt, and lean slightly against a bamboo pole, its surface cool and smooth under your palm. A group of townsfolk, two merchants in green kimonos, a woman with a basket, an old man with a cane cluster around the stall, their voices low but lively, trading tales of thefts that ripple through Edo's alleys. You listen, your face calm, your presence unnoticed, the obi's knot firm against your waist, your sleeves faint ink smudge, a quiet mark of the day's work. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern detective. No wiretap, just market chatter. They'd probably plug in earbuds and miss the scoop. The woman speaks first, her voice soft but sharp, telling of a thief who swiped a fish from a stall only to slip on a puddle and drop it, the crowd laughing as he fled empty-handed. The merchants chuckle, one adjusting his obi, his green cotton catching the lantern's glow, and add their own story. A boy caught stealing a coin pouch, his tattooed arm now a warning in the sack shops he once frequented. You listen, your sandals shifting slightly, the dirt cool beneath, and feel the evening breeze carrying a faint floral note from a nearby plum tree, a sweet contrast to the stall's earthy tang. The Edo period is strict. Its punishments for theft, tattoos, stocks, parades, exile, a web of consequences, and gossip, like the bells on a thief's waist, spreads the news, a public verdict in a city where no crime goes unnoticed. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern gossip blog posting this. Fish thief flops, they'd need a snappier headline. You lean closer, the bamboo pole creaking faintly, and catch the old man's tail, his cane tapping the dirt as he speaks of a woman who stole a silk obi, only to be caught when she wore it to a festival, the merchant recognizing his own weave. The group laughs, a soft ripple, and you grin, the story's irony, a spark in the market's dusk. The townsfolk don't notice you, their eyes on the radishes or each other, and you stay silent, letting their words wash over you like the breeze, a moment of rest in a day filled with inking, tying, and escorting thieves. The Berber and Tuareg salt workers of the Sahara, their tales shared under canvas, come to mind, a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by stories that lighten the day's toil. You think of the thief in the stocks, her arm marked like those in the gossip, and how these tales shape Edo's justice, a city where shame is as sharp as a bamboo rod. You reach for a small radish from the stall, offering a copper coin, its metal cool in your palm, and the vendor, a wiry woman with a patched kimono, nods her hands deft as she takes it. You bite the radish, its crisp snap sharp, its flavor earthy and slightly bitter, a quiet fuel for the hours ahead. The group's gossip shifts now about a thief who swore his tattoo brought him luck, only to be caught again, his arm now a map of circles. You listen, your sandals steady the kimono's cotton, brushing your legs, and notice a small moth fluttering near a lantern, its wings a pale blur, a fleeting visitor in the market's glow. You recall the elders' tales of moths as spirits, but you're not one for myths, just a dosh in your mind on the gossip and the thieves it names. Your muscles ache, the day's tasks inking, parading cleaning, escorting a steady weight, but the radish and stories ease it a gentle pause in Edo's rhythm. You adjust your obi, its indigo cotton snug, and brush a speck of dust from your sleeve. The ink smudge from earlier, still faint but fading. The townsfolk's voices continue now debating a merchant's missing rice, their laughter soft but warm. You think of the modern world with its news apps and chat rooms. Would they trade their feeds for this gossip by a market stall, whispers of thefts? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista eavesdropping on a subreddit, their latte useless in Edo's streets. You remember the bamboo cage, you checked its bars secure, and feel the city's pulse pulling you toward the next task. Edo's justice, waiting beyond the stall's chatter. Historians still debate whether Edo's gossip fueled justice or spread fear. But you don't care much for the debate. The tales are told, and that's enough to keep you listening. You step back from the stall, the radish's bite lingering, the market's lanterns glowing ready for the next duty, Edo's streets humming in the dusk. You step back from the market stall, the radish's sharp bite lingering on your tongue. The townsfolk's gossip about stolen fish and silk obis, fading into the evening's hum, their voices blending with the clatter of Edo's shutting stalls. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, faintly dusted with market grit, and your straw sandals scuff the packed dirt, their woven soles catching a stray onion skin from the stall's clutter. The tools in your sleeve bamboo rod cloth tap softly, a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The dusk air is cool, carrying the scent of charcoal and lantern oil. The market's lanterns casting a soft glow as the sun dips below the tiled roofs. Your next task awaits at the guard post near the square, repairing a broken bamboo cage, its bars damaged from a thief's struggle, needing new strips woven under lantern light. You walk toward the post, ready to mend the city's twilight, guiding your steps. The guard post is a weathered wooden structure, its tiled roof barely visible in the gathering dark, tucked between the fishmonger's now quiet stall and the sake shop, its faint rice wine scent lingering in the air. The bamboo cage sits outside its squat frame, leaning slightly, one bar snapped, and another loosened, the hemp ropes frayed, where a thief caught stealing a merchant's coins kicked in panic yesterday. You kneel beside it, your kimono's hem brushing the dirt, and set a small lantern on the ground, its paper shade glowing softly, casting a warm light across the cage's bars. You pull a bundle of fresh bamboo strips from a sack nearby, their green scent sharp and earthy, and begin to weave your fingers, threading the strips through the frame, mending the broken section with careful, deliberate movements. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern repairman. No screws, just bamboo and knots. They'd probably grab a toolbox and a power drill. You work slowly, your hands steady, the bamboo's smooth texture cool under your calloused fingers, its flexibility yielding as you bend it into place, securing it with a loop of hemp rope, its fibers rough but strong. The lantern's light flickers, painting your kimono in soft golds, the cotton catching a faint shadow of your hands as they move, weaving a new bar to replace the broken one. The Edo period is strict. Its punishments for theft, tattoos, stocks, parades, cages, relying on tools like this, each one a piece of the city's justice, and a damaged cage could let a thief slip free. A failure the magistrate would not forgive. You've mended cages before their bars, a routine part of your work as a doshin, though each repair feels like a small act of order in Edo's chaotic streets. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern carpenter fixing this. DIY try jailhouse weaving, you think, amused by their hardware stores and glue. You tie a knot, pulling the rope tight, the hemp creaking faintly, and test the new bar, pressing it gently. The bamboo firm but springy, holding fast under your touch. The air is cool, the scent of lantern oil now mixed with a faint floral note from a plum tree nearby, its blossoms a quiet contrast to the square's dust. You hear a distant shout, a vendor closing his stall, and the soft clink of a coin, the market's pulse slowing as night falls. Your kimono shifts, the obi's knot snug, and you notice a small ink smudge on your sleeve, a stubborn mark from the report you wrote, its shadow, a faint record of your day. You rub it with your thumb, the cotton rough, and let it be. Your hands are for justice, not perfection. The cage's repair is nearly done, but you weave another strip, ensuring the frame is sturdy. The lanterns glow, a steady guide in the dusk. You pause to stretch your fingers, the bamboo's texture lingering on your palms, and feel a faint ache in your wrists. From the day's work, inking, tying, parading, cleaning, escorting thieves, a small sparrow flits past, landing on the cage's edge. Its chirp a bright note in the square's quiet, and you recall the elders' tales of sparrows as luck-bringers. Though you're not one for omens, just a dosh in your mind on the cage and the thieves it'll hold. The square is almost empty, a few stragglers, merchants, a monk passing through, their lanterns bobbing like fireflies, their voices low in the evening's calm. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by tasks that shape their days. You notice a small dragonfly hovering near the lantern, its wings a blur, a fleeting visitor in the square's glow, a reminder of the canal's muddy banks. You finish the repair, tying the final knot, the hemp rope secure the cage, now whole, its bars ready to confine another thief under Edo's public gaze. You stand brushing dirt from your kimono and extinguish the lantern, its paper shade cooling in the night air, the square now lit by distant stall lights and the moon's faint glow. You think of the modern world with its maintenance crews and tech. Would they trade their tools for this weaving bamboo by lantern light, a city's justice in your hands? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista fixing a cage. Their coffee order useless in Edo's streets. You remember the thief in the stocks, her arm marked, like the one you inked, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you toward the next task, Edo's justice, waiting in the night's quiet hum. Historians still debate whether Edo's cages were crafted for durability or deterrence. But you don't care much for the debate. The cage is mended, and that's enough to keep you moving. You step away from the post, the square's lanterns fading, ready for the next duty, Edo's streets calling you into the deepening dusk. You step away from the guard post, the mended bamboo cage now sturdy behind you, its woven bars glowing faintly in the moonlight, ready to confine another thief under Edo's watchful crowds. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, dusted with faint grit from the square, and your straw sandals scuff the packed dirt, their woven soles catching a small pebble from the evening's tasks. The tools in your sleeve bamboo rod cloth tap softly, a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The night air is cool, carrying the scent of lantern oil and damp earth, the market's earlier clamor of grilled fish and soy sauce, now a distant hum replaced by the soft creak of shutters and the occasional bark of a dog. Your next task is to guard a night patrol, walking Edo's dark streets, with a lantern watching for thieves who prowl in the shadows. You lift a paper lantern from the post, its glow swaying, and join two other guards, ready to walk the city's quiet, guiding your steps. The streets are narrow, their dirt paths winding between wooden houses and bamboo fences. The moonlight casting faint silver patches on the ground, broken by the lantern's warm flickering glow. You walk slowly, your sandals whispering on the earth, the lantern held high, its paper shade rustling faintly, painting your kimono in soft oranges and golds. The other guard's hero, with his scarred brow and taro quick to laugh, walk beside you, their bamboo rods at their sides, their steps steady but cautious, their eyes scanning the shadows for quick hands or furtive figures. The air is heavy with the scent of cedar from the houses and a faint tang of river water from the sumida nearby. The city's pulse, now a soft murmur, crickets chirping, a shutter creaking, a distant flute's note. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern night watchman. No flashlight, just a lantern and luck. They'd probably grab a torch and a body cam. You guide the lantern's light into an alley, its beam catching the glint of a cat's eyes. The grey creature slinking past its tail, brushing a wall, a silent shadow in Edo's night. You keep your pace, even your sandals dodging a small puddle, its surface reflecting the moon, a remnant of the afternoon's drizzle. The Edo period is strict, its punishments for theft tattoos, stocks parades, exile, relying on patrols like this to catch those who'd steal a coin pouch or a merchant's cloth under cover of dark. You've patrolled at night before your lantern, a beacon in the alleys, and you've caught thieves, a boy swiping rice, a woman with a stolen fan. Their faces pale in the light, their excuses lost in the magistrate's justice. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern thief under this lantern. Caught on CCTV, try caught by candlelight, you think amused by their digital traps and alarms. You pass a small shrine, its red torii gate barely visible in the dark. A stone fox guarding its steps, and you nod slightly, a habit from childhood. Though you're not one for prayers, just a dosh in your mind on the streets and the thieves they hide. Hero mutters about a thief he caught last week, his voice low, telling how the man tried to bribe him with a stolen fish, only to trip and fall into a ditch, the crowd laughing louder than any shame parade. Taro snickers, his lantern swaying, and you grin the story's absurdity. A spark in the night's quiet, a moment of lightness in a patrol's tension. The air grows cooler, the breeze stirring your kimono, and you catch a faint whiff of sake from a shuttered shop, its tang a contrast to the cedar's earthy scent, a reminder of Edo's life even in the dark. You adjust your obi, its indigo cotton snug, and shift the lantern, its handle smooth but warm, the paper shade casting a soft glow on your sleeve. The faint ink smudge from earlier now barely visible in the dimness. Your sandals crunch on a stray twig, the sound sharp in the alley's stillness, and you pause, your eyes scanning a shadowed corner where a pile of crates looms a perfect hideout for a thief. You hold the lantern closer, its light revealing nothing but dust and a stray straw, and you move, on your heart steady the patrol's rhythm, a quiet drumbeat in the night. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labour's weight, both bound by vigilance in their endless tasks. You notice a small moth fluttering near your lantern, its wings a pale blur, a fleeting visitor in the street's glow, and you recall the elders' tales of moths as spirits. Though your mind stays on the patrol, your muscles ache the day's inking, tying, cleaning, and escorting a steady weight. But the lantern's glow and the guard's soft banter ease it a gentle fuel for the hours ahead. You pass a closed stall, its wooden shutters painted with faded kanji, and hear a dog's bark, sharp but distant a note in Edo's night song. You think of the modern world, with its security cams and floodlights. Would they trade their tech for this patrolling with a swaying lantern shadows hiding thieves? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista holding a lantern, their coffee order useless in Edo's streets. You remember the gossip by the market stall, its tales of stolen fish, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you deeper into its alleys, the next task waiting in the night's quiet hum. Historians still debate whether Edo's night patrols were meant to catch thieves or reassure the city, but you don't care much for the debate. The lantern is lit, and that's enough to keep you walking. You adjust your grip, the light swaying, and continue the patrol, the street's shadows deepening, ready for whatever the night brings, Edo's justice, waiting in the dark. You step through Edo's shadowed alleys, the lantern's warm glow swaying in your hand, its paper shade casting soft light on the dirt path as you finish the night patrol. The city's quiet hum crickets, distant flutes, a dog's bark settling around you like a gentle fog. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, faintly dusted with alley grit, and your straw sandals whisper on the earth, their woven soles worn but steady after hours of walking. The tools in your sleeve, bamboo, rod, cloth tap, faintly a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing the city's strange punishments for theft. The night air is cool, carrying the scent of cedar and faint river water from the Sumida, the patrol's tension easing as you return to the guard post. Your next task awaits at a nearby town square where a thief recently released from the stocks must make a public apology to his victims, and you're to observe, ensuring the ritual proceeds under Edo's watchful stars. You walk toward the square, the lantern's light guiding you, ready to watch the thief bow in the night's calm. The square is a modest open space, its packed dirt ringed by wooden shops and a single cherry tree, its bare branches stark against the moonlit sky, the air tinged with the scent of lantern oil and damp earth from an earlier drizzle. A small crowd gathers, merchants in green kimonos, a woman with a basket, a few children clutching their mother's sleeves, their lanterns casting a soft glow, their murmurs low but curious. The thief, a wiry man with a shaved head and a single tattooed circle on his arm, kneels in the center, his kimono patched but clean, his head bowed low to the ground, facing a merchant whose rice sack he stole days ago. You stand to the side, your sandals steady on the dirt, the lantern set beside you, its light flickering on your kimono, and watch your hand still ensuring the apology unfolds as the magistrate ordered. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern mediator. No courtroom, just a bow and a crowd. They'd probably schedule a Zoom call and call it a day. The thief speaks, his voice low and halting, offering apologies to the merchant, his words formal but trembling, promising never to steal again, his forehead nearly touching the dirt as he bows deeply. The merchant, a stout man with a graying beard, stands stiffly, his arms crossed, his green kimono catching the lantern's glow, his face a mix of scorn and reluctant acceptance. You adjust your obi, the indigo cotton snug, and shift your weight, the sandal's straw creaking faintly, your eyes on the thief, watching for defiance or disruption, though his slumped shoulders show only shame. The Edo period is strict. Its punishments for theft, tattoos, stocks, parades, exile, often paired with rituals like this. Public apologies meant to restore honor or at least appease the victims, a strange justice in a city where theft is as common as the morning mist. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern thief in this scene. Public sorry. They'd tweet an apology and run, you think, amused by their fleeting accountability. The crowd murmurs a soft ripple of comments, some approving, others skeptical, the woman whispering to her child, the merchants muttering about lost rice, their lanterns swaying like fireflies. You keep your face calm, your presence a quiet authority. The kimono's cotton brushing your legs as a faint breeze stirs the square, carrying a trace of cherry blossoms from a distant garden, a sweet note in the night's earthy scent. The thief bows again, his tattooed arm stark against his kimono, the circle a permanent mark of his crime, its ink a silent warning to the crowd. You've observed apologies before their words, a routine part of Edo's justice, though each one feels heavy, a moment where shame and forgiveness teeter in the balance. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their tales shared under canvas, a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by moments that shape their days. You notice a small sparrow perched on a shop's roof, its chirp lost in the crowd's murmurs, a fleeting visitor in the square's glow, and you recall the elders' tales of sparrows as luck-bringers, though you're not one for omens, just a dosh in your mind on the thief and the ritual. The merchant nods a grudging acceptance and steps back, the crowd's murmurs softening the apology complete, though the thief's tattoo will linger a sentence beyond words. Your muscles ache, the day's inking, tying, cleaning, patrolling, and escorting a steady weight. But the square's calm and the ritual's closure ease it, a gentle pause in Edo's rhythm. You adjust your kimono, brushing a speck of dust from the sleeve, the faint ink smudge from earlier now barely visible, and feel a small pebble caught in your sandal's weave, likely from the alleys. You flick it away, the straw scratching your fingers. The air grows cooler, the breeze carrying a faint whiff of sake from a nearby shop, its tang a contrast to the square's earthy scent. You think of the modern world with its plea deals and settlements. Would they trade their courts for this, watching a thief bow in a moonlit square, shame as the verdict? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista mediating an apology, their coffee order useless in Edo's streets. You remember the rice shared with the guards, its warmth a faint echo in your stomach, and the thieves' bells from the shame parade, their jingle a distant pulse in your mind. The square's rhythm is slow, the crowd dispersing, and you feel Edo's pulse pulling you toward the next task, the city's justice waiting beyond the cherry tree's shadow. Historians still debate whether Edo's public apologies were meant to heal communities or reinforce shame, but you don't care much for the debate. The apology is done, and that's enough to keep you moving. You step forward, the lantern's glow fading, ready for the next duty. Edo's streets, humming in the deepening night. You step away from the town square, the thief's public apology now complete, his bowed head and trembling words fading into the night's quiet, the crowd's murmurs dissolving as they disperse under the cherry tree's bare branches. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds held snug by the indigo obi sash, dusted with faint grit from the square, and your straw sandals scuff the packed dirt, their woven soles catching a small leaf from the evening's breeze. The tools in your sleeve, bamboo rod cloth tap faintly a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin, enforcing Edo's strange punishments for theft. The night air is cool, carrying the scent of lantern oil and damp earth, the city's hum shutters creaking, a distant flute softening as the market sleeps. Your next task awaits back at the guardhouse, a simple but necessary duty, sweeping the tatami mats to tidy the space after a long shift of inking, tying, and patrolling. You walk toward the post, ready to sweep the city's stillness, guiding your steps. The guardhouse is a low wooden building, its tiled roof barely visible in the moonlight, tucked between the fishmonger's shuttered stall and the sake shop, their scents of eel and rice wine now faint in the night's cool air. You slide open the shoji screen, its paper panels glowing softly from a single oil lamp inside the room's tatami mats, fragrant with straw, their edges worn but neatly aligned. You step inside your sandals, left at the threshold, their woven soles resting on the dirt, and feel the tatami's firm texture under your bare feet. A quiet comfort after the day's dusty paths. You fetch a small broom from a corner, its bamboo handle smooth but splintered, its straw bristles tied tightly with hemp, and begin to sweep the bristles gliding over the mats, gathering dust and stray grains of rice from the meal you shared earlier. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern cleaner. No vacuum, just straw and silence. They'd probably grab a Roomba and a latte. You work slowly, your hands steady, the broom's soft rustle blending with the lamp's gentle hiss, the tatami's straw gleaming faintly in the light as you sweep each stroke, a small act of order in the guardhouse's dim calm. The room is small, its wooden walls dark and polished. A low table in the center, holding an empty clay bowl, its chipped edge a mark of countless meals, the miso's faint tang lingering in the air. The Edo period is strict. Its punishments for theft, tattoos, stocks parades, apologies relying on a city kept orderly, and even this, sweeping a humble task for a doshin, ensures the guardhouse remains a place of discipline, free of the chaos that breeds crime. You've swept these mats before their straw, a routine part of your work, though each sweep feels like a pause, a moment to breathe in a day filled with thieves and justice. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern janitor tackling this. Eco-friendly. Try sweeping with sticks, you think, amused by their mops and chemicals. You guide the broom along the mat's edge, gathering a small pile of dust. Its grains fine but gritty, and notice a stray rice grain, likely from Taro's bowl, its laughter over stolen fish echoing in your memory. You sweep it into the pile, the bristles catching faintly, and feel a faint ache in your shoulders from the day's work inking arms, leading parades, cleaning rods, escorting thieves, writing reports. The air is cool, the scent of straw now mixed with a faint floral note from a plum tree outside its blossoms, carried through the open screen, a sweet contrast to the lamp's smoky tang. You hear a distant dog bark sharp but fleeting, and the soft creak of a neighbor's shutter, a reminder of Edo's pulse alive even in the night's quiet. Your kimono shifts the obi's knot snug, and you notice a faint ink smudge on your sleeve, a mark from the report you wrote, stubborn but fading in the dim light. You move to the next mat. The broom's strokes steady the dust gathering in neat piles, and pause to flick a small moth from the tatami, its wings a pale blur, a fleeting visitor in the guardhouse's glow, like the sparrows you've seen in the square. You recall the elders' tales of moths as spirits, but you're not one for myths, just a dosh in your mind on the mats and the order they hold. The guardhouse is still the other guards, Hiro, Taro, Kenji. Elsewhere, perhaps patrolling or eating, and you feel a quiet satisfaction, like mending a cage or securing a pillory, each task a thread in Edo's justice. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their hands raw from slabs a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by tasks that shape their days. The mats are nearly clean, but you sweep again, ensuring no speck remains, the broom's rustle a gentle rhythm in the night. You gather the dust into a small clay dish, its surface cracked but smooth, and carry it to the door, scattering it outside. The grains vanishing into the dirt, the night air cool against your face. You set the broom back in its corner, its handle leaning against the wall, and adjust your kimono, brushing a speck of straw from the sleeve, the cotton ruff under your fingers. You think of the modern world with its cleaning crews and machines. Would they trade their tools for this sweeping tatami by lamplight, a city's justice in your broom? You laugh quietly, picturing a barista wielding a broom, their coffee order useless in Edo's streets. You remember the thief's apology in the square, his bowed head, a faint echo in your mind, and feel the city's rhythm pulling you toward the next task. Edo's justice, waiting beyond the guardhouse's quiet. Historians still debate whether Edo's guardhouse chores were meant to instill discipline or simply maintain order. But you don't care much for the debate. The mats are clean, and that's enough to keep you moving. You glance at the lamp, its flame low, and prepare to leave the guardhouse's stillness. Fading ready for the next duty, Edo's streets humming in the night's deepening calm. You step back from the guardhouse, the tatami mats now swept clean their straw, gleaming faintly under the oil lamp's dim glow. The small pile of dust scattered outside, leaving the space tidy after a long shift of enforcing Edo's strange justice. Your coarse blue kimono brushes your knees, its cotton folds, held snug by the indigo obi sash, faintly creased from the day's labor, and your bare feet feel the cool dirt outside your straw sandals left at the threshold, their woven soles resting after hours of patrolling. The tools in your sleeve bamboo rodcloth are still a quiet reminder of your role as a doshin, binding thieves, inking arms and sweeping floors, in a city that never fully sleeps. The night air is cool, carrying the scent of cedar and faint lantern oil. The distant hum of Edo's streets, crickets chirping a shutter, creaking a dog's bark, softening into a gentle lullaby. Your final task is to rest, returning to the crowded tenement where your tatami mat awaits, ready to lie down by a lantern's glow, letting the city's night sounds lull you to sleep. You walk through the narrow alleys, the moonlight casting silver patches on the dirt path. The wooden walls of houses and shops looming close, their shutters closed against the night. Your kimono sways its cotton, brushing your legs, and you feel a faint ache in your shoulders from the day's work inking tattoos, tying ropes, leading parades, cleaning rods, escorting thieves, writing reports and sweeping mats. The tenement appears ahead, its low roof barely visible in the dark, the air thick with the faint scent of rice and wood smoke from a neighbor's hearth, a quiet echo of the morning you woke here. You slide open the shoji screen, its paper panels rustling softly, and step inside the tatami's straw scent. Welcoming you, its texture firm under your bare feet, a familiar comfort after Edo's dusty streets. You smile, imagining explaining this to a modern worker. No couch, just straw and silence. They'd probably demand a mattress and a streaming app. You ease yourself onto your tatami mat, its woven straw crinkling faintly, the surface worn but soft. A small island of rest in the cramped room, shared with other enforcers, their mats empty, now their snores or footsteps lost in the night. You pull your kimono over your chest, its cotton rough but warm, a makeshift blanket, against the night's chill, and loosen your obi, letting the indigo sash rest beside you, its folds a soft pile in the lantern's glow. You light a small paper lantern by your mat, its flame flickering gently, casting a warm golden light across the tatami. The walls glowing faintly, their wood polished by years of hands brushing past. The lantern's paper shade rustles in a faint breeze from the screen, its light a quiet companion in the tenement's stillness, like the stars over the Sahara's dunes, a world apart, yet kin in their calm. You take a deep breath, the air cool and tinged with straw and smoke, and feel the mat's texture under your back. Its straw poking faintly through the kimono, a small nudge you've learned to ignore. The city's sounds drift through the screen crickets, a distant flute, the soft creak of a cart, a gentle lullaby that wraps around you, easing the day's weight. Your muscles relax, the ache from inking, tying, and patrolling melting into the mat's embrace, and you notice a faint ink smudge on your hand, a mark from the report you wrote, stubborn, like the one on your sleeve, a quiet record of your work. You chuckle softly, picturing a modern worker after a shift. Ink stains. Try a day with no soap, you think, amused by their hand sanitizers and desks. You think of the thief's apology in the square, his bowed head, and the bells from the shame parade, their jingle a distant echo in your mind. You shift on the mat, the straw crinkling, and feel a small pebble caught in your kimono's hem. Likely from the market's dirt, a fleeting traveler in your rest. You flick it away, the cotton rough under your fingers, and let your eyes drift to the lantern's flame, its flicker, a soft pulse like the sparrows you've seen in Edo's squares. Their chirps a memory of daylight. You recall the elders' tales of lanterns guiding spirits, but you're not one for myths, just a dosh in your mind on the mat, and the rest it offers. The Edo period is strict, its punishments for theft tattoos, stocks parades exile a web of consequences you've woven all day. But now in the tenements quiet, you're just a man resting the city's justice, a distant hum. You think of the Sahara's salt workers, their blankets under stars a world apart, yet kin in their labor's weight, both bound by moments of pause. The lantern's glow softens its flame low, and you feel your breath slow each inhale deep, and even the tatami's straw a gentle cradle under your weight. The night's sounds, crickets, flutes, a shutter's creak, blend into a quiet tide, pulling you toward sleep. The tenement's walls a silent shield against Edo's endless pulse. You think of the bamboo cage you mended the thief in the stocks, the cart rolling into exile, all fading like ripples in the Sumida's flow. The mat holds you the lantern's light, a fading star, and you let the city's rhythm carry you, your thoughts drifting like petals on the river, ready for tomorrow's tasks, whatever they may be. You lie on the tatami mat, Edo's night sounds weaving a gentle lullaby around you, the lantern's soft glow casting golden threads across your coarse blue kimono, its folds a quiet embrace. The straw beneath crinkles faintly, a tender cradle, its scent mingling with cedar and faint smoke, the tenement's walls holding the city's hush. The obi sash rests beside you, its indigo cotton still, and your sandals wait by the door, their woven soles silent after the day's patrols. The air is cool, the breeze slipping through the shoji screen, carrying whispers of river water and plum blossoms, each note pulling you deeper into rest. You think of the thief's tattooed arm, the stocks creak, the bells jingle, all fading like ripples in the Sumida, their weight easing into the mat's embrace. Your hands marked by ink and rope relax the ache of inking, tying and sweeping, melting into the straw, and the lantern's flame flickers a fading star in the room's calm. Let the city's hum carry you. Let the night's stillness rock you. Let the tatami hold your weary frame. You're a doshin, but now you're just you resting, drifting, dreaming under Edo's endless sky. The stars unseen but felt their light a whisper of tomorrow's work. Thank you for joining this quiet journey through Edo's streets. Rest well under the lantern's glow. Sweet dreams.